Now we have a special review for you today, and that is of the new iMac that just came out here in 2007 during the summer. It's sort of a glossy screen, and I mention that because that's probably the most noticeable feature that you will find about this new iMac. It does have this sort of black barrier around and this brushed metal instead of the white look that it had before, but it's a glossy screen, which is similar to what you might have seen in some of the MacBook Pros or the MacBooks that have a glossy screen. So you might find you're going to get some reflections on some of the screen, which could be a problem depending on what you have behind you. So depending on what angle you have, you may get lights overhead, particularly if it's in like a lab environment. There's a whole bunch of them and you have lights running out behind you, and that could be a little bit of a problem for you. All right. But otherwise it's a pretty crisp screen. If I was to go down here and I was to try launching like the Safari browser to get an idea of how that looks. Right now this is angling directly at the camera over here, and you can kind of see a little bit and how much of that are you actually going to have difficulty trying to see. So if I was to go to the Apple website, for example, let me try to maximize this a bit more and try to take a look at that. And I go to Mac, go to applications, let's go to like Final Cut Studio, so you get an idea there for what you'd be actually dealing with and how much of a glossy reaction you might actually have on that. It's a little noticeable. For me, it would drive me batty to try to work on a machine quite like this because the reflections are just too much. Even though I don't have any windows in my office, this would just drive me a little crazy trying to view it. I don't know if a third-party company is going to come out with some kind of a film that you can put over top to reduce the glare. I know they used to do that years ago before the anti-glare screens, so that might be a possibility of what's going to happen. So that's the first thing you notice. The second thing you notice is the new keyboard. Now the new keyboard is so thin. I was surprised by how lightweight it is. It's very thin. It doesn't weigh much at all, but it's very solid, very sturdy. And one of the things I like about it is the keys don't depress very far, and basically I could just type. And I have found that I make fewer typos when using this keyboard, and so is a colleague of mine who uses one of these. And he finds that these keyboards, you make fewer typos. It's similar to a laptop's keyboard, but a bit nicer, I think. It's got a great feel to it. And one of the things that makes it a little more ergonomic, and if the camera gets this on my hand, is my hand is down here. It's at the same level. I'm not having to reach up to get to a key that are actually up an extra inch or inch and a half off the table, bending your wrist backwards, which is one of the worst positions that you can be in. You want to avoid that. Now technologically, one of the new pluses about this is also that it comes with USB ports on each side that are USB 2.0 ports. These aren't USB 1 like all the older keyboards, but USB 2s, and it's actually a real hub, which means you can have your mouse connected as well as have some other device like a USB flash drive or a printer, things like that, because it's got enough power that it can actually run all that. So it acts as a hub, which is very, very nice. One other thing I wanted to point out about the keyboard is all these cables. This may look kind of ugly to have all these cables dangling around here. You can go with a Bluetooth keyboard. They do come with an option. It's one of these thin keyboards. The problem that you might find with that is, one, you don't get the USB ports on the side of the keyboard, which is real handy for plugging in a flash drive once you figure out how to do that. And the other thing is, it doesn't come with these keys. It only comes with the main part of the keyboard, and it comes with a number pad. So it's basically the same thing as you might see on a laptop. So that's, if you're okay with a laptop and you never use the number pad, then you're probably okay. But for a lot of us, we need the number pad. I'm not sure why they cut that part off, because it's a computer with a 20 to 24 inch screen. You have plenty of space to do this, and you can just slide it right underneath there to get it out of your way. But for some reason Apple thought, people don't need the number pad. I guess it figures none of us are doing Excel spreadsheets or budgets, or all of us are doing that. So I'm not sure I understand that one, because going to the top of the keyboard is not going to work too well. One thing I wanted to point out was some of the extras you do get on the back, the ports. And if you go to the back of this one, we got the 3 USB ports, obviously, headphones, audio line in, and 3 USB. One of them is taken up by the keyboard, but you do get some extras there. If you do have the Bluetooth keyboard, it's all wireless, and the Bluetooth keyboard won't use up one of the USB ports. So you get a FireWire port back here, right there. And then right next to it is another FireWire port, but this FireWire port is the FireWire 800 as opposed to FireWire 400, so it can transfer data a lot faster. This is probably used by most professionals who use external hard drives. I have a FireWire 800 drive, and this is really handy to know that I can hook it up here and be able to get data to and work with my data on that drive. So that's nice. Of course, you have an Ethernet connection and a digital video line out, which can be a big plus for you. Now, it comes with an Intel processor, which means that you can run Windows on this computer as well as the Mac OS, and you can boot directly into Windows and never even know you have a Mac, other than it has the Apple logo on the front. So that's an option for you with a thing called Boot Camp that Apple provides. And of course, Parallels is another choice to be able to run Windows at the same time as you run the Mac. So this could be really your Windows PC if you wanted it to be, if you really like this design. But if something goes wrong, you know, because it's all in one computer, the computer is built in. I mean, this is a very thin design, but you know, your CD-ROM drive, your hard drive, the processor, motherboard, all this is built in behind the display. So if something goes bad here, you lose the whole computer. If your display goes bad, you have to send off your whole computer to get repaired. You can't just hook up an extra display. So that's a little bit of a minus. But it takes up so little space. So little space. This doesn't require a huge desk to set up all this stuff and room for a tower, which is a big plus. You pay a little extra for that, but not too much. It's really a good bargain, what you get these for. They come with the Intel processor. There's an Intel Core 2 Duo, and then there's also the Core Duo Extreme, and that one is the high-end one for the high-end iMac if you look at Apple's store. I haven't seen a whole lot on the Intel Core Extreme to indicate that it's worth the money. It is a little bit faster speed. It's 2.8 gigahertz as opposed to 2.4 gigahertz. So I'm not sure that that's going to make that big of a price difference for you, and it's like $200. Oh, and speaking of money, if you were to try to upgrade the RAM on this computer to 4 gigabytes, the maximum amount, from Apple, when you order it brand new, it would cost you about $700 to upgrade from a 1 gig configuration to 4 gigs of configuration. And you might need that much if you're trying to run Windows and Parallels as well as running the Macintosh operating system and Photoshop and Final Cut Pro and things like that. You're going to need 4 gigs. But if you were to go to some place like Crucial.com or Other World Computing, which also sells RAM, you may pay as little as $200, $300 for that 4 gigs of RAM that will work with this new iMac. Save yourself a lot of money. It's real easy to upgrade the RAM on the computer. If I tilt this back just a little bit, gently, there's one screw right there. I don't know if we can get that on the camera. One screw, you take that out, and that's how you can add the RAM in the computer. And of course, you know, put the screw back in when you're done. It's really easy for you to do it yourself. You can order the RAM. They even have a deal, I think, at Other World Computing where you can take your old RAM and mail it back to them and get a rebate. So that RAM just isn't wasted and thrown in the trash or left in your desk drawer. You know, what do you do with it? Because it's only got 2 slots. You can't add more. You got to take out the old and then to put in the new. So still, it's probably the best deal if you do want to run the Macintosh operating system. It's probably the best deal for you because the towers cost over $2,000 for the cheapest tower. You will pay the same price for Intel Mac tower as you would for the whole iMac here, including the display, 24-inch display even. This is just the 20-inch model. So, you know, it's really a very economical way to go. It's got a good graphics card in it, unlike the graphics card that you'll find in the Mac Mini, which really isn't meant for doing much in the way of multimedia, you know, video editing, gaming, that sort of thing. So that makes the Mac Mini very limited in what it can do. But if you're in the PC world and don't want to run Mac software, aren't interested in running things like iMovie, you'd just be happy working with Adobe Premiere, which you can run on Windows. You could run Windows on this, but you certainly have a lot of other choices to check out at, you know, Circuit City or wherever, you know, with the Dells online, places like that where you can see the hardware. But probably for an all-in-one unit for a space-saving design, you won't find better than this. And it does have an option for you to upgrade the hard drive internally, and I'm not sure you can do that yourself. That may be a little bit hard for you to be able to do. So you want to go as big a hard drive as you can when you first buy it, because it's going to be hard to upgrade that internal one. And one thing I can guarantee you is the software that comes out, the new version of software, of anything that you have, whether it's your OS or Microsoft Office, it's going to be bloatware. It's going to be bigger and take up more and more of your hard drive space. You're going to need a bigger hard drive just to fit those applications on there. All right? Well, I hope you found this review helpful. If you have any questions about the new iMac, send us an email at askthetechies@gmail.com.